Hello chess friends, chess lovers, welcome to today's tutorial. In this particular video, I'll be teaching you castling and what castling is all about on the chessboard. As you can see on the chessboard, we have, for both sides, we have the king and the rook. Yes, castling is done with the king and the rook. But castling is the king's move. So whenever you want to perform the action castling, you should move the king first before the rook. During a chess game, the players alternate making moves. It means we play moves turn by turn, which white plays first, then followed by the black player. One piece at a time. The only instance where a player gets to move two of his pieces in a row is when castling. In this case, the player moves the king and the rook during the same turn. I'm going to cover the mechanism of castling, then the special circumstances where castling is possible, and finally, why it is a good idea to encourage students to try and castle during almost every game. So you might be watching this as a chess player wants to grow, so you should know how to castle and why to castle in almost every game. Castling is a defense mechanism for the king. It enables you keep the king in a safe position during the game. It is even advisable to castle from 1 to 10th move of every chess game or most of your chess game, because at times you might end up winning a game without even castling. Looking at the screen right now, let's practice how to castle. Castle is done by moving the king when the two squares in between the king and the rook, or when the three squares in between the king and the rook is empty. Three squares are empty rather. So when I have the king here and I want to castle to the other side, all I do is recognize which side is empty. Is it the short side or the long side? The short side is called the king side and the long side is called the queen side. So to castle, I pick my king, I move 2 squares to G file, and now the rook follows to the other side, immediately closer to the king. So same thing happens too if I decide to castle to the other side. All I do is move the king 2 squares and I switch over my rook closer to my king, and this is what we have, just like the position you have on the screen. If I'm to move white and black, I can move my piece, I can move my king to the G file and cross over, then also black can castle. This is how we castle in chess. Just observe the board and you get it immediately. So practicing castling on the board when you have pieces on the chessboard in a real game includes this. Basically, I have random moves like this: knight out, then bishop. Now, before my move 7 or before move 5, I've attained the position where the 2 squares between the king and the rook are empty. So all I do is I move my king 2 squares closer to the rook. It's not my turn, it's not this white turn to play now. So let's say after black played, I move the king 2 squares to the rook, and here is the castling. So I've actually castled and my king is safe. So observe how I have 3 points in front of my king. I have a knight and I have a rook guarding my king. It's more safer here. It's to be hard for the opponent to just attack. Now for black to attain castling, has to move out this bishop, and after a move like this, black can castle to the king side, short side castling. Long side castling can be achieved also the same way. All you have to do is clear out the pieces on the square and create a room for the king and the rook. Thank you if you have learned something about castling today in this castling video. I believe the video is helpful to you. Please share the video to your friends, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Then turn on the notification bell for notification once I post a new video on chess.